Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and it's Debsy, and the place to be, it's Debsy. Bloop, bloop, that's me. Boop, Debsy. Hey everybody, happy Wednesday, and I hope everybody is having a great week. You did not get a video from me on Monday or Tuesday because I didn't have anything to talk about. So rather than sitting here and just talking about nothing, I thought I would just take a little breather and get myself ready for the next 2 days coming up, because we have reunions on Bravo for Real Housewives of New Jersey and Vanderpump Rules. Now, I'm going to address this before I go any further. If you hear some kind of a swishing noise, it is the dishwasher right off to my left, to my left. I'm washing dishes off to my left, to the left, to the left. Please don't come after me, Beyonce. I don't have the kind of money that you want or need. That's what you're gonna hear. So I mentioned Real Housewives of New Jersey. I watched it last night. We are going to get into it right now. And I'm just gonna go through, I'm not gonna go through everything. I'm gonna go through a few things, some things that I had noticed. First, right off the bat, who else would really be able to get away with getting a phone call from their ex-husband as you're starting to, film a reunion? Only Teresa Giudice. Juicy Joe called up asking Teresa if Bill Aiden does bags under the eyes. Not for him, but for his uncle. We find out that Joe, in his divorced life, has the same number of girlfriends that he had in his for real married life. He has a couple girlfriends in the Bahamas. So they got that out of the way. They went into Teresa and Melissa went into the reunion wanting kind of similar things. Teresa said she just wants to close the chapter. Melissa wants to close the chapter peacefully, and she said that she wants the truth to come out. Teresa says that Melissa is gone. Like, after tonight, she is done with her. She's not going to be talking to her anymore, and that she's gone. And there's no way that she can do that Teresa, that she can do the show with her on it. So she's gone. And this is news to Melissa. Melissa's like, well, where am I going? And she's like, you're gone. Like, as if to say, like, you are off the show. Neither one of them are planning on leaving. Like, Teresa has said in the past, she's not leaving. She refuses to leave. And now she's come out saying that she needs this show because she has a kid to put through medical school. She has a kid to put through, why was I gonna say lawyer school? To put through law school, and that's Gia. Gia's going to school to be a lawyer. I don't know. So this might come down to like, somebody might have to be fired. I mean, if somebody's going to have to be fired, who do you think Andy is going to fire? Is it going to be Melissa, or is it going to be Teresa? I think it would be Melissa, just because I think he kind of, I don't want to say he plays favorites with Teresa, but to me, I feel like he kind of does. But what I think is going to happen, to be honest with you, I think they're both going to return, because I mean, I think Teresa's going to like draw a line in the sand and say, listen, it's me or her. I don't know. I don't know where I see this going. But I mean, if the Gorgas leave, then Joe Gorga is gone. And we all know that there's a very strong relationship between all of the Real Housewives of New Jersey husbands. And so if Joe Gorga is gone, then what happens to that friend group? I mean, because there's some people who will film with Louis, but then there's some who just won't. So that's it. Andy brings up Dina Manzo. not going to the wedding. Teresa said she didn't go because she didn't want to be filmed. Andy doesn't seem like he buys that. I did hear online. Now I'm gonna have to go through and look more into this, but apparently there was like Dina Manzo had a break-in that was very violent, and she has actually moved out of New Jersey. So, and she really, the only time I guess she comes back into New Jersey is when she's visiting family, and she doesn't really want people to know that she's in the state. Andy had said, well, you could sign a paper, like a do not film paper or something like that. But that's what I had heard. I had heard that maybe she doesn't want people to know that she's in the state just because of this break-in that had occurred that was just very traumatic for her. So I don't know. But that's what she said. She had said that she didn't want to be filmed. Teresa says that her and Dina are still close. Andy points out that in the past, they would take vacations together. They would be all over each other's socials and their Instagram posts, but that hasn't occurred in quite a while. And Teresa also says that Dina's husband and Louis were never in business together. Melissa says that Joe really shouldn't have said anything just because Dina's husband really doesn't want to be on the show and doesn't want to be on TV. And speaking of being on TV, a little bit later on, Teresa had said Louis didn't want to be on the show, but her brother was the one that made him come that pulled him onto the show. Melissa was like, that is not true, because Louis had said to Joe at one point, hey, let's go and let's go to this girls trip and we can try and get on TV. And Melissa is saying that Louis knew of Teresa before they met, and his family's a fan of the show. And Teresa's like, that's not true. Listen, I completely believe that. I think that Louis is an opportunistic clout chaser. I absolutely 100% do believe that. And there was another little tidbit that Melissa threw out there. Melissa threw out there that before he got with Teresa, that Louis had actually put the moves on Alexia from, I believe, Real Housewives of Miami, possibly. So that's that. From what I understand, they look very similar, very much alike. So I'm just saying, that's what I think. What do you think? Do you think he wants to be on the show? Let me know in the comments. What do you think? Do you think Louis wanted to be on the show? And they also talked about, this was interesting, they talked about Pauly and Dolores' relationship with Pauly. And she had come out and said that Pauly is separated. He's not divorced. Him and his wife have been separated for 14 years, and they're just not divorced because Pauly had never thought that he would meet anybody that he would feel like this again. Like, he never thought he would meet somebody like Dolores, who he wanted to spend the rest of his life with. Listen, I get that, but no, to me, if I'm going to be dating somebody and getting serious with them, they're going to have to be all the way divorced. I get it why some people just don't divorce immediately. I mean, there could be a myriad of reasons, cost, kids involved. I get that. But for me, I would want him to be divorced before I actually got together with him. And also it came up that Frank is still living with David, with Dolores's ex-boyfriend. And Andy thought this was weird. I agree with Andy. And Dolores then said, well, Frank built his house. But Andy was like, right, there's a guy built my house too, but he doesn't live with me, which is absolutely right. I think it's kind of odd. Danielle and her brother were a topic. They haven't talked for 3 years. And I believe she said that the next day, they're going to see each other because of his mother or her grandmother's funeral. So they haven't talked. A viewer wrote in and asked if Danielle did something wrong, if she had some part in him not talking to her. And listen, I'm getting tired of this. I wish they would just drop it. It's nobody's business. But here's my line of thinking. I'm wondering if the Gorgas are gone, or if Teresa's gone. Teresa's not going to be gone. If the Gorgas are gone and they don't have this storyline of feuding brother and sister, are they going to try and bring this up and make this a storyline? I really hope not. Danielle and Marge and Rachel had kind of got into it a little bit, and Danielle had a pretty good line when she said, yes, I am a wannabe because I want to be nothing like you, meaning the Mean Girls. Then they got into talking about the Arsenal comment. Danielle had said that Laura said it, not that Margaret said it. And then Rachel and Danielle get into it. Rachel was upset because of how Danielle talked about her in her confessionals, and that Danielle didn't take any accountability. Danielle was upset with Rachel because she thought they had a friendship, and then her and Margaret band up against her, kind of like as Mean Girls. They both decided to call a truce, and they're going to just resolve to move on. We'll see if that happens. Andy said that he enjoyed seeing them together, and I did enjoy seeing them together. So I hope they can get along. They were talking about Teresa's wedding. So they were talking about Teresa's wedding, and Andy had brought up Margaret being at the wedding and crying and getting very upset. But then Teresa said something like, I went to talk to you, but you were gone. Here's my whole line of thinking on that. Margaret is such great friends with Melissa. Why were you even there then? I mean, if she was going to go, then she should have just gone and been there for Teresa. But once again, my line of thinking is if you're such great friends with Melissa, why did you go? I mean, Rachel is friends with Melissa, and she didn't go, but instead Margaret has to go make a big show and then make another big show out of leaving. And I heard this on YouTube from somebody who had heard it. I watched a video, and this person had said they heard from multiple sources that Margaret was like terrible at the wedding. Like, she was coming off just as mean as she does in the confessionals. So that's all I'm saying. If you're such a great friend to Melissa and Joe, then why did you even go? That's just my thinking. And the kids, they brought the kids up again. A viewer had written in and asked Teresa, why did you publicly shame your niece Antonia on the show? Teresa says she shouldn't have said anything, and says that Rachel basically asked this as a setup question. This was a setup question. And Rachel was like, it was not. I mean, you were the last one that was talking. That's why I asked it to you. I believe her. I don't think it was a setup question at all. Andy then brings up the fact that Melissa brought up Teresa's kids by saying that they have hate in their hearts. So they're both guilty of that. Teresa then brings up the fact that Melissa and Joe had brought up her kids on their podcast by saying that when Teresa was in was in prison camp. Remember, whenever she came back from prison, Teresa didn't call it prison. It was camp. It was never prison. It was always camp. But that if it wasn't for them, they wouldn't have a house over their head. And they both went just back and forth, claiming each side. Like the Gorgas used Teresa used the Gorgas. Teresa says her brother never visited her while she was in jail, and Melissa was like, that's because his name was not on the visitors list. It was only on the visitors list whenever they started filming. Teresa checks in, and then you needed him. Listen, I'm gonna tell you this. I think Teresa did need her brother and Melissa at that point, because could Joe Giudice carry an entire show by himself? No, he couldn't have carried Teresa checks in at all. And the kids were young, so what could they do? So I'm sorry, but they kind of used the Gorgas for that. Thank God they did, because I couldn't watch an entire show of Joe Giudice. I'm sorry, I just couldn't. And then by that point, Andy had just like, there was one just picture where Melissa and Teresa were going back and forth, and Teresa's like, you can go to the bathroom, Andy, or something. And Andy was checked out. Like, he was gone. Like, he was like, oh, forget this. And then lastly, we find out that Teresa's talking with Jacqueline Larita again, and that I guess Jacqueline had told her that the Gorgas were hanging out with Joe Giudice's ex-business partner, and she's saying, and Teresa's coming out and basically saying that she thinks it was the Gorgas, that was Joe and Melissa, that like gave her up to the feds. At first she was saying it was Carolyn Manzo that turned them in, and now she's saying that it's the Gorgas. So that's it. That's what I have. So next week, I'm going to tell you, this week it wasn't explosive. If I'm rating it on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give it I'd give it a 5.5 maybe. But we know that the best is yet to come, because there's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot. So we got to buckle up for the next couple of weeks. So that's it. Okay. So tell me what you thought in the comments, and also tell me who you think was best dressed. For me, I loved Teresa's hair. I actually even liked her outfit. The only ones that I was not a fan of Melissa's outfit. I was not that big a fan of Rachel's outfit, and I did not like, I didn't like, who was it? Jennifer Aydin's. I thought hers was too old for her. And I liked Margaret's, but I didn't like it on her. So for me, the big winners were like, everybody on the right side was the big was winners. I liked Teresa's, I liked Dolores's, and I liked Danielle's. So let me know what you think. And if nobody told you yet today, I love you. You are loved, seen, and heard. Please make sure that you put love, kindness, compassion, acceptance, hope, and positivity out there. And let's treat each other the way we would want to be treated. And let's watch out for each other. I will see you tomorrow with my thoughts, explosive, cursey thoughts about the Vanderpump Rules Part 2 reunion. So I will see you tomorrow. Everybody have a great night. And I love you guys. Bye, guys.